Hi, and welcome to the Spirit of the Warrior podcast. I'm Nick, and today we're going to start diving headlong into the first subject of many on this journey to come. So today we're going to talk about something that a lot of people probably either take for granted, don't think much about, what have you. But we're going to talk about you. And what I mean by you, other than literally you, we're going to talk about you in several different perspectives. Think of yourself as the core or the foundation upon which everything about you is built. You know, like an atom combined with others makes molecules. These molecules combined with others make elements, so on and so on. With that in mind, thinking of yourself as that core or that atom, that foundation, we're going to work on expanding upon your core and build it up, if you will. In some cases, it may not be so much as building as it is enforcing, reinforcing, or adding to stuff you already know, may not realize you know, that you'd actually be surprised about. If any of this resonates you and helping you become a better person or adding tools to your ever-growing toolbox, as a team, we're on the right track. We're working towards the goal of bettering ourselves, myself included, in doing these podcasts. So, as I mentioned before, you are the most important part of this whole process. And that should come as no surprise, really. I mean, that's why we're here talking. Because without you, there's no growth, there's no forward momentum, there's no drive to learn, and there's just nothing. So keep that in mind, because the day you stop learning, well, there's not much else to do in life, because every day you learn something, whether you realize it or not. Or you come across something that reminds you of something in your past and helps clarify and helps you understand that moment better in your memories. So you should always strive to learn. Doesn't necessarily mean go to school, sitting in a classroom with books and whatnot. Every day-to-day tasks that you do. You may meet someone and learn something while talking to them that you found interesting. Things that might be said that you never gave thought to, but now, that it's been said, you've got a bit of an interest of, that's interesting. I wouldn't mind learning a little bit more about it. So keep in mind, you're learning every day, and if you choose not to, then ultimately you're hurting yourself. So, like I said, keep that in mind. It really is an important factor. So let's start at the beginning with you. Young, old, doesn't matter. If you're here listening to me, then you understand that you're always evolving. We're all always evolving. Sometimes it's without our knowledge. Sometimes it's something we're doing on purpose in order to evolve and better ourselves. And that quest for knowledge, striving to better ourselves, following that journey to its, not necessarily its conclusion, but to the conclusion of that phase of the journey, and then where we go from there, and just keep moving on and moving on. So now that we've established that you're the focus of today's topic, you've got these things to think about. Are you taking care of yourself? Mentally, physically, spiritually, if necessary? After all, you're a living, breathing organism that needs to be tended to, just like a garden. I know, sounds a little more of a comparison, but it's true. My wife plants her garden, and she gets upset if she doesn't get out there to tend to it, because if she doesn't get out to tend to it, well, things don't quite grow, or the bugs get to it. And you yourself work in the same similar fashion. You need food and water to survive. You need some form of physical activity to remain fit. I'm not saying go be a triathlon or, a world heavyweight bodybuilder or boxer or playing football, playing sports all the time. No. Keeping yourself, we'll say to start with, keeping your body healthy, because everybody's level of exercise and physical fitness varies based on, your body composition, your build, your body's, overall makeup. So you may or may not have limits physically that some others may have, but that doesn't make you any different from anybody else. Everybody has stuff that they adapt to physically in order to go about their day. And the best example I could give you is someone who's been in an accident and they've lost their legs. Yeah, that changes the dynamics of what they can do physically, but they learn to adapt, they learn to adjust and find ways to turn what would be a disability into an advantage, into something that is not holding them back from doing what they want to do. So you're the same way. Your physical needs are different from everybody else's, and as long as you're tending to them, your body will thank you for it. Take care of your needs. Stay fit, stay healthy. Granted, it doesn't always work out. You feel like you cheat because you've had some junk food or sodas or whatever, but that's fine. We're only human. We want what we want. We do things we want to do, but still, try and take care of yourself physically so that you don't have to worry about any health issues arising and creating problems for you. Mentally, being in shape mentally is extremely important. Your mind is an extremely important piece of this core building because you need to remain mentally stimulated. You need something that's occupying your mind in a positive way to allow you to ignore the negativity, to ignore those that say, hey, you can't do that, or you'll never be able to. Well, I'd say, look at me. I took a couple of years, but I'm here, doing a podcast that, a few people have actually reached out and told me that it's a good, a good outlet, for me, and they enjoy some of what I have to say. And let me tell you, I greatly appreciate that. I'm humbled and honored when people let me know that I'm helping them in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just for entertainment or actually shedding light on a few thoughts that they hadn't thought about. So you really have to put your mind into things. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. Mind over matter. And there's reasons for those sayings. If you've convinced yourself in your mind that you can't do something, then you're right. You can't do it. But if you tell yourself and convince yourself that you can do it, or you can get pretty damn close to start with, then by all means, go for it. That's what you should be doing. For ages, I'll admit, first time I ever saw, the Tough Mudder on TV when they were doing it in Britain, I thought it was pretty impressive. It was pretty grueling, pretty rough, and oddly enough, back then I was like, I don't know if I'd be able to do something like that. Fast forward many years, and I actually convinced myself into it and signed up for a Tough Mudder. And I didn't train very well, but I refused to give up. I flat out refused. Not completing the course was not an option. And I would tell myself that over and over again. And I would keep pushing and pushing. And when it was all said and done, I actually finished it. And it finished it in, I would say, a pretty, respectable time frame considering I was out of shape. And I had fun. I enjoyed it. It was an experience that showed me that if I tell myself I can do this, push myself a little bit harder, a little bit further, then I could do it. And there were people around to help. They want to see you succeed just as much as they want to succeed. So there was a bond formed on the course where you're helping each other over obstacles. If you're struggling, someone's giving you that extra little boost, that little bit of confidence that goes a long way. So to date, I've actually done 3 Tough Mudders, and I've loved doing all 3 of them. But for now, kind of had to back off. I don't know how they'd feel about having Quincy running around the course with me. But these are things you have to give some priority to. Your mental stability, your mental, to your mental attitude, the mental stimulation, the refusal to let negative thoughts stand in the way of you doing something. For years, negative thoughts have stopped me from doing things, and now, again, here I am. I hit that positive thought train, pushing out of my bubble, and now I'm here talking to you guys. You need to be aware that it sounds simple, trying to maintain a positive attitude and keep pushing yourself forward to the next level. It sounds simple, and it could quite possibly be extremely simple, because when it comes to making decisions that'll affect the scenarios that you encounter, who, what, when, where, why, the 5 W's, that's in your ballpark. That's decisions that you have to make and navigate through life. The more thought you give to it, the more positive thought you give to it, will tend to lead to a better outcome. Now, let me set this straight and put this on the record. Not every thought will be positive. I got it. I'm human. I've been through things. You're human. You've been through things. Heck, even Quincy's been through things. But that being said, it does introduce some negative thoughts, some negative experiences. And that's actually good in most cases. I'm going to say most. There are some exceptions, and some rather extreme exceptions. But at the end of the day, you sit down and boil the thoughts down to, okay, what's the positives of this decision and pros, and what are the cons or the negative aspects of this decision? And you weigh them out. And rightfully so, you should, because there may be something in the negativity column that, while it's a negative aspect, has a profound impact on the positive side of things. An example, we'll use the Tough Mudder, we're just talking about it. You're wanting to go do it, you're ready, you're all fired up, and the day that it happens, you got everything going, you check going, you've checked the cons, and then as you're going down the list, you realize, oh no, I'm supposed to be taking someone to the airport that I promised I would take them to the airport for, and you don't want to break that loyalty to your friend. And I admit it, I would either find a way to get that friend to the airport, or I would eat the loss, because my promise to my friend could be more important, because they could be truly depending on me to get them where they need to go. So to me, that would kind of wash everything out. But if you're planning ahead of time, thinking ahead of time, listing out the pros, listing out the cons, and I'm just saying that example with Tough Mudder, that would be me. The wife would be really pissed off about it, but that would be me. Friend that I truly cherish, I made a promise I'm going to try and keep that promise. I mean, there'll be other tough mutters. Yeah, I lost my entry fee and stuff, but I hate saying it's only money, but in the end, it's only money. So when you're viewing these obstacles and you're making these choices, give yourself the time and the time and a fair shake at weighing out the pros and cons. And I'm not saying do this for every single decision you make. That's, should I go to dinner or not? No, not stupid shit like that. Important decisions that have real world effects on you that could be lasting effect. We all sit there sometimes for trampoline. Oh, I had the opportunity to go to this country and I just decided one day I really wasn't feeling up for it, so I didn't go. And you end up regretting it because that opportunity never presented itself again, and the reason you chose not to go was you just weren't feeling like it, or something that was inconsequential. Don't let that happen to you. Give everything a fair and thorough chance at being considered. In some cases, it's a matter of, hey, the pros, the cons, there's some things that I could wiggle, create a little wiggle room to where maybe this con is no longer a con anymore and it becomes a pro to lead you forward and keep you going. You never know, or you could actually start eliminating things that are keeping you mentally from wanting to do what you want. And in doing that, it may say, hey, this is something you can't do right now, but it is something that can be achieved in the future. And when something like that comes up, it usually works out for the best, and you be very grateful for that change and quote-unquote rescheduling of that goal. So speaking of goals, things that you want to consider, you need to have goals in life, be them short-term and long-term. Short-term, I would say, it could be any length of time. It could be within a week, within a month, within a couple months. Short-term could even stretch out to a year if that's the way you work. And then you've got long-term goals that are way down the road, but you're going to be making decisions along the way, and maybe those short-term goals are, we'll call them mile markers along the way to that long-term goal, each being reevaluated and checked along the way, and it allows you to adjust and recalibrate as necessary to keep your eye on the prize. And now, remember, we all know life happens. Things happen that we don't expect, or things happen that we do expect, but we didn't look at our goals in the process because we were looking at what we were expecting right then and there. That would be like a real short-term goal. It's right there. And that could have an impact on either short-term or long-term goal. It could very well negate a short-term goal in saying, you know what, that one is irrelevant now. My circumstances have changed. My environment has changed. I can still work towards my long-term goal. I just have to change how I go about doing it. So I have to rework my short-term goals, reevaluate them, and then step up and move forward. But it's always good to reevaluate them from time to time, even if nothing's changed, because you always want to make sure that you're going in the right direction. I would compare it to like a land navigation. Generally, when you're trying to navigate and you want to do a straight line, you're saying, I need to go a mile north up this hill. Okay, got it. Look on your compass, you get your bearings, you know where you need to go, and then you put your compass in your pocket. The dumbest thing you can do is just walk a mile nonstop, never checking if you're on track, didn't bother to check your map and your bearings again. I'd say 99% of the time, you're gonna find that you're way off course, because humans don't walk in straight lines. We walk and we have a natural curve off to one side or the other. So what you would want to do is Hey, I need to go 1 mile north up that mountain. My map out, I'm looking, compass. Okay, north, that way. Pick something within view that is directly in the direction you're going. You walk to whatever that item is, be it a rock jutting out or a tree or a unique cluster of bushes. You go and you head straight to that. That's your target. That's your destination. You get there, you pull out your map and compass, you verify that you're right where you're supposed to be, and you're still going north. So you repeat the process. Pick a target that's straight north where you're trying to go. Once you've got it locked in, you can put your stuff away and walk to it. Once you get there, it's a wash, rinse, repeat process of checking, validating, and then you go on your way. And you'll get to where you need to be without deviations, without any real major problems. That's the best thing you can do. Hi, Quincy. But that's the best thing you can do. Keep yourself on track by reevaluating and checking where you need to be from time to time. And like I mentioned earlier, sometimes things happen that we have to reevaluate our goals, see if they're still applicable or not. Life happens. You have to remain flexible. You have to be willing to give a little and take a little with life and what it throws your way. It is probably one of the most important skills to have of being flexible, because rigidity breaks, flexibility bends. You want to be able to bend. You want to be able to give a little, take a little, and still complete the mission. If you refuse to bend, ultimately you will break and you will lose all that you've been working for. And trying to build it back up and go at it again could be even more difficult this time around. But if you want to get across that finish line, you got to be flexible. You got to take what life throws at you, do your damnedest to look at it in a positive light, and make the best of things. Yes, there's some downsides, some negativity. You need to acknowledge that. You need to say, yep, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, but I have so many good things that I can work through for it. And as you're doing that, you find you get closer and closer and closer to that finish line, to that goal. Whether it's one of your short-term or your long-term goals, you keep pushing and eventually you'll achieve them. And that is one of the greatest feelings that there is, knowing that you refuse to give up. Because if you refuse to bend, if you refuse to a benefiting compromise, we'll call a suitable compromise, part of being flexible, if you're not willing to do that, pretty much going to be guaranteed to fail. And the way I see it, failure, while yes, it is an option, you should not allow failure to be an option. If things change and you can't get and achieve a goal for whatever reason, and that goal is no longer valid, you didn't fail. You tried, you made an honest attempt at it. You didn't succeed, that's fine. Not everything happens the way we want it to. You tried, you gave it your all, you did your best, and that is the most important part of that journey. Ready, willing, and open to learn, make mistakes, learn from them, and bounce back, come back bigger, better, stronger. With that being the premise, I'm going to wrap this episode up. Remember, you are the core, the foundation. You're the key to this whole damn thing. And it's only as effective as you allow it. Please be kind to one another. You know how I feel. Be respectful. Remember, you can always agree to disagree. If you want to leave some comments, go ahead. Nobody's 100% right. Nobody's 100% wrong. So I'm going to roll out. I hope y'all stay safe. Take care. Please stay blessed and go hard. Be humble. Love you guys.